For my final socials project, I chose currency and the different types throughout history. Industrial Revolution. If you look back at the Industrial Revolution, you can see paper money and commercial bills being used, but gold and silver was still preferred in some areas. If you were a child in the Industrial Revolution, you would work 11 to 12 hours and earn 50 to 60 cents per day. Around that time, Canada was using the holy dollar. This special coin consists of two parts: the center of the coin, which was worth 1 shilling, and the outer piece that was worth 5. These coins were used in Prince Edward Island and New South Wales. Canadian Pacific Railway. The CPR played a big part in the promotion of tourism and immigration. The railway cost $25 million. The railroad workers were paid anywhere from $1 to $2 a day and had to buy their own food and gear. Fur trade. The fur trade had lots of different forms of currencies over the years. During the start of the fur trade, indigenous people would bring beaver pelts to the HBC trading posts as a form of currency to get European goods. By 1748, the beaver pelts became the recognized standard of trade and was known as an MB. Other animal pelts were also worth a specific quantity of MB. For a brief while, HBC started to trade silver, but after they merged with the Northwest Company, they stopped. Promissory notes were issued by the HBC because in Rupert's Land, a form of currency was needed by the new settlers in the Red River settlement. Canadian Confederation. The Canadian colonies gradually moved away from the British pound and adopted currencies linked to the United States dollar. With the Confederation in 1867, the Canadian dollar and Canadian coins were established shortly after. The first coins of the Dominion of Canada, issued in 1870, were silver 5, 10, 25, and 50-cent pieces. Bronze cents were added in 1876. Here are the models I made for my artifact. American Revolution. The Stamp Act increased colonial anger towards the British and was a helping hand on the way to the American Revolution. This act meant that all colonial, commercial, and legal papers, newspapers, pamphlets, and cards had a tax of 4 pence on them. These taxes didn't sit well with the colonies and caused lots of problems. The main reason the Stamp Act even occurred was because the British Parliament needed help to replenish their finances after an expensive 7 Years' War with France. British Columbia history. An important part of BC's history that involves currency is the gold rushes. Because of the Cariboo Gold Rush, lots of people were coming up to BC to work in the gold fields in hope of striking it rich. The people that truly became rich from this were merchants and bakers. Bakerville was the main town during the Cariboo Gold Rush, named after Billy Barker, who was one of the first few to strike a gold at that location. His claim was the richest and most popular. Geography of Canada. Lots of notable events that helped evolve currency has taken place right here in Canada. A perfect example of this is the HBC fur trade. The fur trade has changed currencies so much throughout their history, some by choice, others not so much. The HBC's first inland trading post was established by Samuel Hearne in 1774, with the Cumberland House in Saskatchewan. There was the start of trading between Indigenous people and Europeans. Here's my timeline. In 1748, the HBC beaver pelts began to be the recognized standard of trade. In 1765, the Stamp Act happened, but this did not last for long because of the outrage in the colonies. In 1813, the holy dollar was formed because PEI found itself with a severe currency shortage. In 1820, the HBC issued promissory notes for the new settlers in the Red River settlement. The Cariboo Gold Rush in 1860 to 1863. The first gold discovery was made at Hillsbar in 1858. The first Canadian dollar in 1867 following the Canadian Confederation. And lastly, the CPR Railway construction from 1881 to 1885. These are all my references. Here are some photos of my finished product. Thanks for listening.